Hi, friends. Welcome to Taking Back Happy. I'm your host, Gina Granville, God's girl, retired homeschool mom of 4, empty nester, GG, essential oil and exercise enthusiast, Christian life coach, and someone who is taking back her own happy. I know many of you feel exactly like me in these midlife years, a sort of loss of direction, but you feel way too young and vibrant to sit on the porch and just watch life go by. What if you could reclaim your life, finding deep joy, renewed passion and purpose, and plenty of adventure in these midlife years? If you are ready to find your spark again, throw on those walking shoes, pop in those earbuds, and join me right here as we take back happy together. Hey, Taking Back Happy friends. Today is the continuation of my interview with Sheri Daily, and she's been showing us how you can have a little planning and a lot of grace and really make a difference in your home, organizing your space, preserving your memories, and really telling your story. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to part 1, I would encourage you to go back and do that because this is part 2 today. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you are blessed as much as I've been.
Those of us that are, there's like what they call the sandwich generation. So we're taking care of kids that are now adults. We've still kind of got their things because they haven't quite taken over all of their belongings. Now, some they have. And then we have some of our parents' belongings, but we also have some of their parents' belongings to go through. And so I think what's happening is people are having a shift in, there are different economic things that were going on many moons ago, right? Like there was a time where you passed everything on because it was not possible to get another table, a different chair, whatever. And so now we are, at least in the US, we're blessed that we have access to many supplies. It's not that way in, everywhere, but in many places in the US, you have that. So we're able to put those things into donations or for other people to be able to use or maybe be repurposed or, things like that. So, but I do think a lot of us are sandwiched in between the generations when it comes to belongings for sure.
Yes, I think so too, because I have some of my kids' stuff in my closets too. My grown kids who are married and been married for years, and like, you do have a bunch of ballet outfits in the closet. Oh, I'll get them, Mom. I'll get them. And then I forget, she forgets until the next time I get in that closet. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're still in here.
Yeah. Well, and, they're special because I've started going through, well, I'm almost all the way through my boys' papers and belongings. And what I realized is that I have memories attached to my younger kid when they were younger that they don't have. Because maybe they were too young. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if it was something that they did in a younger grade, they might remember it if it was like a significant event. But often they'd be like, oh.
Right. Yeah.
And so, so what I did was, I gave myself a first pass and I thought, what was special in here to me? And then I gave it to them. And I have one son who's a little more nostalgic and the other one who says he's not nostalgic. He's definitely more minimalist. But if you start to take the things, it's like, wait, what is that?
Right.
So, so I've seen people do it all different ways. Like, but I would say if you know that if your kids say, well, I don't really want it, but that might hurt your heart. Maybe you go through, take the pictures of the things, that you like, write what your memories were of them. And then, their belongings, whenever they're ready for them, then they can go through them. But the idea is that if that was a really special time for you as a parent or a mom with your kids, maybe tell why, right? Like this is.
I love the telling why. I love that either writing it down or recording it or making a video, because that's the part that they'll pass on,
Yeah. And, my kids would say, I forget what we were talking about. We were talking about how, I think it was baseball. My boys were in baseball for a couple of years and there's a lot of games in baseball. I don't know if any of your kids ever played baseball. But
no, we did basketball. So.
Okay. Basketball. Well, baseball is a long season and a lot of games and you're at the field for a long time. And so we were just talking about like, the dinners together, like how we'd have dinners together or you're like bringing the snack for the team, or the time in the car together. And my youngest son recently said, "Wasn't that just so stressful?" I said, "It was like partly like my Super Bowl because I got to be with you for so many hours. I got to be with you in the car after work, hear your stories on the way to practice, see you out in the field with your friends, and then go home with you afterwards." So for me, it was a really fun time. And I think they were surprised. Like I said, I hope I didn't seem stressed.
Right,
Because I
right.
said it was such a joyful time for me. And it was family time together. And they were sometimes on two fields, and I was like going back and forth because their age difference. So
Right, that's fun.
yeah, and so I think
It's
they didn't
really
have
part
that
of your
struggle.
identity, like at that point, your
Yeah,
identity is in what they're doing.
exactly. And what a treasure it was during that time. And I think I realized, like, if I never told them that, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know the story. Like, they would just think about baseball as what their experience was, but they wouldn't realize, like, wow, my mom loved doing that. She loved being, part of our practice and stuff like that. So
Yeah. I was like, several of my boys have said, like, have written me notes or told me things, and they're like, my mom was at every game. Like, you don't think it matters, but it matters to them,
yeah,
You're my best cheerleader, like,
yeah, I think it means a lot to them, and I think that it will be a family value that they'll pass on to be present for their children as well in the process of what they experienced, right?
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how did you start out where you're just like, this is more than like, I think of organizing, I'm like three piles, one goes to the trash, one goes to you know, Goodwill or whatever, and one goes is a keep. And you got to have a friend with you because you're not going to do it well unless someone's like, oh, you can get rid of that. Like,
Yeah.
how did you come to the point where you're like, okay, this is more than that? Let's like there's a mindset piece to this.
Yeah, well, I figured out that a lot of people, well, there's some people that do struggle with organization. I have a lot of clients that have a neurotypical brain. I actually have one. I had brain surgery about 12 years ago. So my brain functions as a neurotypical brain. So sometimes we do have like a challenging disorganization. But overall, what I found is that um, basically we can find the tips. You can find the tips, you can find content, you can find videos to like work alongside. But if you don't really know where you're at, it makes it difficult to actually organize. And so here's why. So a lot of us are in a life transition. And if you
Yeah,
don't really know like which part is, and I'm sure you've heard people say like the past you and the present you and the future you.
right.
So, if past me was a teacher, I might still have teacher things, but I'm actually not going to be returning back to the classroom. So I can always have like a few pieces of that. But if I held all of those things, that's not, I mean, there are teachers that I was able to bless by passing my belongings on to. And,
Yeah.
but if I didn't do it, then that's taking up physical space. And that is, um, your brain kind of like sees these past things and they're not really processing moving into the present things. Like moving from I'm a teacher to I'm a business owner, that's a pretty big change. And moving from I'm a wife to I'm a widow, right? Like that was a big identity shift. And so I
Yeah.
had to figure out that work. And so that's how I started getting into the mindset work is I would go to someone's home and I could kind of look around and and by the way, it's very easy to organize someone else's home. So I bet most of the people listening could probably go at someone else's house and help out very easily. But when we have our own things, sometimes there are transitions that were painful that make it hard to go through the piles, right? And find
Right.
the happiness in that. So what I start with asking people is like, we start with like, what are your roles in the season? Because if you understand that, that's what helps first. And then once you know what your roles are, then you can figure out what you need your house to do to support you. So if you're a business owner, but all of your closet is taken up by your old teaching supplies, but you need to bring something in, or you need different equipment to do things, maybe you don't need 20 colors of construction paper anymore. Or maybe you were a homeschool mom. I know you were a homeschool mom. So you have all these supplies and it's like, wait, maybe I'll keep some for my grandkids, but I probably don't need my whole homeschooling thing. It's
Right.
figuring out what the role is and then how to have the house support you or your business, whatever your office, your papers, your digital files, but knowing that. And then when you do that, it makes it a lot easier to let things go. And you can find the tip on how to do it. Because some people they do it in big chunks. Some people do it 15 minutes at a time. Some people just go, I'm going to go for the next 2 days and power through. That part is pretty flexible, but figuring out your roles really helps with the mindset.
Okay. That makes sense. My friend yesterday, she was here and she was looking and she knew I was having this podcast today. And so she's like, you need to get your friend to help you organize this cabinet, because I was looking and it's just like things are springing out of it. And I was like, oh, well, that's like, that was all my homeschool, like, that was like their crafts and this and that. And afterwards I was thinking, yeah, I probably need to go through that because it is like, out of sight, out of mind.
Well, and it sounds like you're pretty involved with your grandkids. And so maybe you make like a little, like the homeschool experience is still really part of you.
Right.
You are.
Right.
And I did hear on one of your podcasts, you were talking about being a lifelong learner, and that's a high value for you. And so you might keep some of the materials that you want to share with your grandkids, but like also thinking about if my grandkids did come, before you were a full-time homeschooler, right? But maybe now you'll just have a few hours. So what would be some fun things that you could have? So you could keep some of your things and then the other things could go to schools or, any place that, would take those donations for that.
Right. Right. We have a homeschool library at a church in town that will take any kind of anything, and someone will get some good use out of that. So yeah, I need to sit down and, check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be so fun. And if you want help, just let me know.
I probably will
do that. It's fun sometimes to do it with someone else. It makes it like this is also something I've discovered. A lot of times people have the objects, but the stories inside their head, and they just haven't said it out loud. And as soon as they say it, a lot of times the answer just they go, oh, I don't need that, or, oh no,
Right.
I still use this. I actually just need to put it somewhere else. So yeah.
That's good. So you said you went to virtual after 2020.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do it when you're not actually there in their home and you're just taking over and everything? You're just like coaching them, or what are you doing online?
Sure. So when I do work with clients in the virtual setting, now it's not for everyone. If it's a client that can't physically move things, then it's probably not an ideal situation. And so if a client is like not, so if someone can't lift things and move things around in their room, then I'll typically help them. I'm a member of NAPO, and I help them find an organizer in their area to help them physically move things.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So we have sort of our own network of professional organizers in the States through the organization. But when I'm helping people virtually online, we start with they give me a virtual view of the room. They send me some pictures and some measurements. We start with some mindset work. So I figure out where they're going, what the space needs. And then over time, we build, usually we can get a space done in anywhere from 4 to 6 sessions, depending on what's needed. Every now and then it can go to 8 if there is, like grief related type things. Sometimes we'll slow it down just a little bit. But
Right.
but we can do any spaces. So I've done all the spaces in the home virtually. It's a lot of fun, and we just meet and we have like an online journal that we work together in, and then they use something called Voxer. It's a walkie-talkie app, and they can send me messages, and then I can respond to them real time, so that when they are doing something, they can send me their thoughts, and we can do that. But we meet virtually on Zoom. And sometimes I'll have them log in 2 places. They might have their computer set up, but they also bring their phone, so in case they need to pan around the room or whatever. So it's a lot of fun. And what people like is that it's more affordable than maybe having someone come into your physical space. And the difference is you can hire someone to come in and do it. And often you can get a really good match and they can figure you out and do that. But when they go through the process themselves, then their place usually stays organized because they actually get it set up over a course of several weeks. So it gives us enough life that life will life in the space so they can go, oh, that doesn't work. And we just keep working through the space.
Okay. That makes sense because like someone could come in and do the whole thing, but anything organized tends to get disorganized over time.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you were the one that was in, you're not letting someone else just do everything, like you're in on it with them, then that would be more of your priority to keep it organized, keep it the way you had it.
Yeah.
It would be some
Yeah, because
joy.
you're making deep level decisions, but there is sometimes a time and a place for somebody to come in. If you have an urgent situation, if you have a physical, like sometimes it's good to still have somebody come in, but virtual is a great fit for a lot of people when they have like a system clog up or a workflow, like things like this just doesn't work no matter what I do. And we can uncover, is it a habit related thing? Is it a physical space kind of a thing? Is it a mindset? Is it a past you? What is it? We can get to the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think most people would just think it's a space thing to begin with. They wouldn't even tie any of that other stuff in.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love that. So, a lot of the Taking Back Happy audience is, we are a lot of times in transition or, we're empty nesters or getting close to being empty nesters. A lot of them have gone through divorces. They've got taken care of elderly parents, so how can we take back our happy if like, our homes, our papers, our like, I don't know, our little knickknacks, if they're not necessarily, if they're just kind of everywhere, because like you said, we're that sandwich. We're between the kids, we're between the adults. Like, what would you recommend for that?
Yeah, I think that I would, first of all, I would acknowledge all of the roles that I had. And if you are in a season where you're caring for kids, it's a sacred blessing. If you're in a season, but it doesn't mean it's not challenging and busy, right? If you
Right.
are in a situation, if you're caring for your parents or helping your parents, also sacred blessing, but it can be really time consuming. And, um, you know, this is a podcast that you share your faith, and God goes before, and He knows exactly how to help you align things and to weigh what's most important in your life that's going on. And so, when you're thinking about taking your happy back as far as the physical organization,
Right.
I would not start in like every area. I would start in exactly the smallest, easiest thing that you could get sustainable. So, for example, if you are caring for somebody who's ill, you probably need the papers and files to support that. And maybe that's all you're focusing on so that you can still live your life and be present and still go out and do the things that you need to do. There are seasons sometimes that our home feels more organized than others. And that's okay. And people sometimes talk about that, but not always. And, we're saturated with a lot of images of like these beautiful homes and Pinterest. I love, inspiration boards and things like that. But if your home is functional and you're able to make a meal and you're able to, pay your bills and things like that, if you've got the functional things going, just do it a little at a time so that you can keep the happiness forward. And you don't have to, be obsessive about it. You just work on one area at a time.
Yeah, I love that because I think about, I'm always like encouraging people to take care of their health, their body, move their body, not necessarily to be Miss, I don't know, Miss Athlete, but to be functional. Like you're going to, as you age, you're going to get down and play with your grandkids and do all these things. So that makes sense that, to start with that part. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yes, and I know you are so health focused, which I love. And one of the things that I tell myself is I am living long and strong. And
Yeah.
so I'll pick like one thing every now and then. And I did the most simple thing maybe about a year ago, and I realized that I don't drink water unless it's cold. I'm sorry. I know that's like, it sounds like very entitled, but it's like I just when the water's cold, I will drink it. So
Right.
I ended up buying 2 thermoses. So I always have one, that's there. And all I needed was one little spot in my pantry. And now that like there's no system backup, like I just know exactly one's either in the dishwasher or it's in my hand, right? And so just in one simple thing, just making like I needed 6 inches of space. That's all I needed, just so that I could always put it back and always know where it was. And that was one thing. So you don't have to start with like, I have to rearrange all my cabinets.
My whole pantry.
Just a little at a time, just a little at a time.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add or anything else you want to share with our audience?
Yeah,
I've so enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, well, I think just with your frame of taking happy back, right? That it's just it's such a light and lovely way to look at life and to move in a transition. And I think that if you're taking that same idea, is that, peace comes from alignment, not from perfection. And when we kind of align with what the season is, and whether that's caring for someone, taking care of grandkids, supporting our adult kids, whatever that piece is when our belongings and our home matches our season, our space and our lives kind of exhale. And then there's room for a little joy and a little shenanigans. You're not as worried about things, and just taking it one step at a time.
I love that. So it'd be a good question to ask yourself, does my house align with the stage of life? Because, like when your kids are little, it definitely aligns with, there's everywhere, balls, there's this and that and ballet bags and, but does it align with me today, who I am today, who I'm becoming during this season of life? That's a great question.
Yeah. And I love how you say that, like who I'm becoming. And that's the other thing is that, that your podcast visits on that I love is that who are we becoming? That we don't have to stay the same. You can stay. There's nothing wrong. If you're happy where you are and your life is exactly where you want it to be, you don't have to make change. But if you have that space where you're like, I'm not sure, it may be, okay, what's going on in my life? Who am I becoming? That's a great question.
Yeah. Awesome. So where can people reach you? Where can they find out where are you located?
Sure. I have a website and it's peaceful-paper.com, and that's the best way to reach me. And then on that website, you can email me or get in touch with me by text, whatever is the easiest. And there's also like a box where people can contact, and I'd love to help anybody that's on your podcast.
Okay, awesome. That's awesome. And I will, when I put this out, you guys will see all that listed below, how you can get with Sheri and talk to Sheri and ask her questions or get more information or any of that.
So, thanks, Gina. I appreciate that so
excited.
Much. It's been so fun to be here.
I'm just so blessed you were able to take the time and come and share. And like, it was just as inspiring to me today as it was the first time I heard you talk. And I like how you kind of tailored it to this season of life,
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Gina. Anytime. And I just love what you're doing with your podcast. It's super fun to hear.
Oh, thanks so much. All right. I'll talk to you later, my friend.
Okay. I'll see you soon.
Bye. Okay. Bye-bye.
If this podcast blessed and encouraged you today, I'd love for you to share it with your friends. You can take a screenshot and share it in your stories, but make sure you tag me at Gina Granville so we can connect. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you join my Taking Back Happy Facebook group. I'll meet you back here soon, and we'll continue taking back happy together.